For years, chemical fertilizer companies have told us the same story, that you need their products to grow anything worthwhile. Bags of nitrates, phosphates and potassium salts with bold labels and big promises line the store shelves. But what if I told you that a simple, homemade biofertilizer can outperform all of them, restoring soil health and supercharging plant growth naturally? It costs next to nothing to make, requires no lab equipment, and yet it delivers results so powerful that industrial agriculture has every reason to keep it out of the spotlight. This isn't some backyard myth. It's the same principle used by regenerative farmers, ancient growers, and sustainable homesteads worldwide. Once you learn this formula, you'll never waste another dollar on commercial fertilizer again. The truth is, plants don't need more chemicals, they need more life. When most people think of fertilizers, they think of nutrients. Nitrogen for leaves, phosphorus for roots, potassium for fruits. But, that's only half the story. Plants don't absorb nutrients directly from the soil unless microbes make them available. Every teaspoon of living soil holds billions of organisms, bacteria, fungi and protozoa, all working together to break down organic matter and feed the roots. Synthetic fertilizers skip that process by force-feeding plants, which gives quick results but at a cost. Over time, the salts in chemical fertilizers sterilize soil, compact it, and destroy the very microbial systems that make it fertile in the first place. That's why biofertilizers are different. They don't just feed the plants, they feed the soil life. When you brew a biofertilizer, you're actually creating a living culture, chock full of beneficial microbes that digest organic matter, release locked-up minerals, and, stimulate plant immunity. It's a bit like giving your garden a probiotic instead of just a pill. Over time, the soil transforms into a self-sustaining ecosystem, which means you get stronger plants, better yields, and honestly, less dependence on store-bought inputs year after year. The recipe, it starts with 3 natural power sources that you can find on just about every homestead. To make this DIY biofertilizer, you only need 3 ingredients: a nutrient base, a microbial starter, and a simple sugar to fuel the reaction. The nutrient base, by the way, can be anything rich in minerals or organic matter: compost, fresh manure, green weeds, or, even kitchen scraps. These materials provide the raw food that microbes will convert into plant-available nutrition. The microbial starter is what sets this brew apart. You can use old compost, worm castings, or even just a handful of healthy garden soil to introduce beneficial bacteria and fungi into the mix. Finally, the sugar source, whether it's molasses, honey, or even fruit waste juice, acts as an energy supply for the microbes. When mixed together in water, these ingredients create a fermentation process that multiplies microbial populations by the millions. Within just a few days, you'll have a living liquid fertilizer that's absolutely alive with activity and, ready to transform your garden. Here's how I do it, step by step. First, fill a large container halfway with your nutrient material. Grass clippings, chopped weeds, or manure all work fine. Next, add enough water to cover everything, but make sure you leave a bit of space at the top. Then stir in your sugar sauce, roughly 1 part molasses for every 10 parts water. Lastly, toss in your microbial starter. Mix it thoroughly, cover the container loosely, and let it ferment in a shaded spot for about 7 days. Remember to stir once a day to keep oxygen moving and prevent foul odours. When the smell turns sweet and earthy, it's ready. Strain out the solids and keep the liquid. That liquid is your DIY biofertilizer, concentrated, living, and incredibly potent. What makes this formula so powerful isn't the ingredients themselves, it's what happens during fermentation. The microbes break down complex organic compounds into amino acids, humic substances, and plant hormones like auxins and gibberellins. These natural growth regulators trigger stronger root systems and increase the plant's ability to draw water and nutrients from the soil. When applied to soil, this biofertilizer creates a cascade effect. The microorganisms colonize the root zone, where they form symbiotic relationships with plants. The roots feed the microbes through natural sugars, and the microbes in return release minerals locked in soil particles. It's a feedback loop of fertility that no chemical fertilizer can replicate. The difference becomes visible fast. Plants show a deeper green colour, thicker stems, and, well, higher resistance to stress. During trials in my own backyard beds, I used this homemade brew on one half of my tomato patch and left the other half untreated. Within 3 weeks, the treated side had twice the foliage and fruit set. But what really convinced me was the next season the same soil retained more moisture and didn't need nearly as much compost or water. That's when I realized this isn't just a fertilizer, it's a soil rehabilitation system. To get the most from this biofertilizer, application timing matters. The best times are early morning or late afternoon, when the microbes won't be killed by direct sunlight. Dilute the brew before use, 1 part fertilizer to 10 parts water, and apply it directly to the soil around your plants once every week or 2. For larger crops or raised beds, drenching the root zone ensures deep penetration. If you want to go further, use it as a foliar spray. This allows beneficial microbes and nutrients to enter through the leaves, boosting plant metabolism almost instantly. For seeds or seedlings, soaking them in a diluted solution before planting helps inoculate them early with beneficial bacteria. Even compost piles benefit from this treatment. The microbes speed up decomposition and raise nutrient content dramatically. Now, here's one crucial tip. Always keep a new batch brewing. Since it's a living culture, it's honestly most effective when it's fresh. Personally, I like to start a new container as soon as I use up the last batch, so, the cycle just never ends. Over time, your soil will become so rich and self-sustaining that, it'll need little outside help at all. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Industrial fertilizer companies rely on farmers and gardeners being dependent on their products. Their whole system is built on repeat purchase, not regeneration. But when you switch to biofertilizers, you break that cycle. You stop importing fertility and start producing it. You stop buying nutrients and instead start growing them. Across the world, small farmers are rediscovering this method. In India, farmers use Jeevamrutha, a biofertilizer made from cow dung and jaggery, to rejuvenate degraded land. In Korea, natural farming methods use plant and fish ferments to achieve record-breaking yields without a drop of chemical input. The principle is universal. Nature already knows how to feed itself. We just have to let it. Once you've brewed and applied this biofertilizer a few times, you'll see why Big Ag wants to keep it under wraps. It doesn't just grow plants, it rebuilds ecosystems. It restores what industrial farming destroyed, the living connection between soil, microbes and plants. Every batch you make is an act of independence, proof that fertility doesn't come from a bag, but from biology. So, the next time you think you need an expensive solution for your garden, remember that the most effective fertilizer might already be brewing in your backyard. Start your first batch this week and watch your plants and your soil come alive like never before. If this guide opened your eyes to what real soil health looks like, make sure to subscribe to Botanical Bliss. Share this video with fellow growers, homesteaders and backyard gardeners who are ready to step off the fertilizer treadmill and start growing with nature instead of against it. The best gardens aren't built by corporations. They're grown by those who trust the living power of the earth.